Hi, Amy here, and today I want to talk about a fantastic underutilized source of free content and how you can create content that sells with this. And what I'm talking about with content that sells in this particular tutorial is a focus on visual products. Things like printables, print-on-demand artwork, art prints. These are easy to create and can be very profitable to sell. So in this video, I'm going to explore how you can use vintage and public domain images to create content that you can sell to people. So vintage images is sort of a catch-all term. A lot of vintage types of content are things that are actually older that are now under public domain, so they're free for commercial use. However, there's also other types of vintage style content that can look old or altered to look old. So vintage itself can be either content that is older content or content that is sort of more retro and looks older. And when we're talking about public domain, particularly images, we're talking about content that's no longer protected by copyright, and there's a lot of new content being released every year. And this is just a really great way to get fantastic free content, because what's great about public domain now, particularly in the United States with the new laws that came in a couple years ago, is that there's new content each year. So for example, in 2021, items created by people where it was copyright or people who died in 1925 will be released, and so on. So there's just a lot of great content that's coming in every single year. So I just want to talk a little bit more about this trend and what consumers are looking for and why it's popular. So people love vintage and public domain style content. It just feels very timeless and classic in terms of things like prints and people putting it in their home decor. It inspires imagination. It connects us to nostalgia and history, maybe to our relatives, things along those lines, and recalls a simpler time. And I think a lot of that we see too, sort of supported by TV shows and movies. We have this idea of what we think the past is like, and a lot of times we want to have, printables, decor, things like that around that remind us of that. So here's some examples of a couple of different styles of vintage images that are going to be able to be used. So this is an old map of London that's available as printable wall art. You can see that's pretty cool. Like if you lived in London or were, an Anglophile, maybe you'd want that. And here's a classic royalty-free vintage image that would probably then be incorporated into using with other types of things. So if you're considering offering visual-based content, you might want to take a closer look at vintage style visual art, because there's a lot of free content that's out there. It's very popular, so you can find an audience, and you can reuse it in a lot of different ways. Prints, postcards, wall decor, and much, much more. So one of the things you can do, or a couple of things you can do to capitalize on this, is to use free images. So, you need to know where to find them, and stick with the types of trends, niche, and subject matter that people like, and also be creative. So it's not just about taking an image, it's about making or incorporating it into something new. Because people do want something unique. They want something that's going to capture their attention and not just feel like it was slapped together. They want something that's going to be something really interesting and unique. So if you'd like to learn more about getting involved with selling visual content, you want to check out PD Visual Prints. This is my training where I show how you can take massive amounts of free content and create visual prints that you can resell with this. You can get the link below in the description.